No one opens their eyes in the morning thinking, "Today is the day I die." No one. And yet, from the first second your lungs tasted air, a countdown started inside you, quiet, invisible, merciless. Every birthday you celebrate with cake and candles is nothing more than a disguised survival ceremony, a silent reminder that somehow you managed to outrun death for one more year. Every laugh you share, every victory you brag about, every stupid argument you waste time on, every plan you make for a tomorrow that isn't promised, all of it happens beneath a ceiling you refuse to acknowledge, the ceiling of the end, the ceiling of your disappearance. And because the truth is too monstrous to face, you pretend it's not there. We live inside a global illusion so well rehearsed that we don't even notice the stage around us. People die every single day. Neighbors whose lights you saw last night, friends you joked with last week, a coworker who complained about the weather yesterday, someone who had lunch on Monday but won't wake up on Tuesday. And yet, what do? You return to your routine like a machine. You complain about traffic, you get irritated at bills, you refresh your notifications, you take pictures of your face in good lighting, as if the scythe does not have your name on it too, as if you were exempt, as if you were different. But this is the lie we breathe, the most efficient lie humanity ever created, and the one it cannot live without. Ernest Becker tore this lie open in The Denial of Death. He didn't soften the blow, he exposed it with a brutality that still echoes today. The human being is the only animal that knows it is going to die. And this knowledge is so horrifying, so paralyzing, so corrosive that we had to invent an entire symbolic universe just to keep ourselves from collapsing. We had to craft purposes, missions, destinies. We had to distract ourselves with work, relationships, ambitions, status. We had to build religions, nations, cultures, stories that function like psychological morphine. We had to create meaning because the raw truth of our ending would be too unbearable on its own. And have you noticed no one speaks about this openly? The topic of death rots in the basement of every conversation. People avoid it like a contagious disease. It's uncomfortable to admit that the clock is ticking. It's disturbing to accept that everything you feel, everything you are, everything you've ever loved will disappear. It's terrifying to remember that every single person you know, including you, is standing in an unseen queue, moving slowly, silently, inevitably, toward their own extinction. The denial of death isn't just a psychological trick, it's the foundation of human sanity. Ernest Becker went further. He revealed that every human action, every pursuit of power, every obsession, every ritual, every argument, every dream is rooted in this desperate attempt to escape the idea of non-existence. We want to appear immortal, even if only in someone else's memory. We cling to legacy, to reputation, to children, to beauty, to the illusion of permanence. We build monuments, empires, identities, social media profiles, last names, businesses, anything that gives us the feeling that we won't dissolve into nothing. The terror of death doesn't stop us, it drives us. It is the engine behind everything that pretends to be meaning. And that's why the world spins so violently, not because of a love for life, but because we are running, sprinting from the shadow that follows us everywhere. Now it's time to tear this veil completely. Look at the structure of ordinary life with new eyes. Billions wake up, choose clothes, eat breakfast, leave home, work, argue, dream, plan, consume, desire, envy, love, betray. And they do all of this under the insane assumption that death will skip them today. They treat death as a statistical anomaly, a rare tragedy that only visits strangers. That's the first great cosmic irony. Humans know they will die but live as if they are immortal. This isn't ignorance, this isn't optimism, it's a beautifully intricate mental defense mechanism, a psychological fortress built from denial. Becker called it vital denial, a silent contract between your consciousness and your fear. For you to function, you must forget. Your mind must push the truth into the dark corners so you can move. He wrote, "The idea of death, the fear of it, haunts the human like nothing else. But this haunting doesn't scream, it whispers, it hides. It hides when you ignore a medical appointment despite clear symptoms. That's not laziness, that's denial. It hides when you buy something expensive just to feel valuable. That's not vanity, that's a symbolic shield against insignificance. It hides when you chase goals you don't care about, perform lifestyles you don't feel, accumulate things you don't need, all to silence the truth. You are temporary." This is not about luxury or status. This is a psychological antidote against the unbearable fact that you are made of flesh, time, and nothing more. Becker didn't romanticize this. He carved it precisely. Man cannot rid himself of the terror of death. He can only repress it. And that repression leaks into everything. It hides in elevator small talk, in forced family lunches, in pointless arguments, in jealousy, in greed and pride, in every shallow urgency you inflate into importance. Every time you obsess over something meaningless, you are exercising denial. Every time you distract yourself, you are performing the ritual of forgetting. Every time you feel offended, superior, threatened, you are protecting the illusion that you matter more than the dust you will become. Human life is distraction masquerading as purpose. We live pretending that each day is not a day less, pretending that life is a journey toward something when in reality, it is a march toward disappearance. And here is Becker's most violent truth. Humans invented the concept of meaning because reality without it would be psychologically lethal. Look around. No one behaves like someone who is going to die. Everyone behaves like someone who has time to waste. People walk around intoxicated with the lie that they have later, that they have tomorrow, that they have years. This is denial in its purest form, not a flaw, a survival mechanism. Without it, civilization collapses. Without it, humanity crumbles. Without it, no one would get out of bed. And so we continue. Buying, arguing, competing, posturing, fantasizing, pretending, while time devours us with a patience as old as the universe. There is something profoundly disturbing about human behavior, something that betrays the logic of our own mortality. We know intellectually, biologically, spiritually that we are passengers, temporary, fragile, finite, and yet we behave as if the universe owed us permanence, as if our existence were too important to vanish. We build, accumulate, envy, rage, compete, worship, betray, destroy, all while pretending that the coffin isn't already built, that the soil isn't already waiting. We cling to objects that will outlive us by centuries. We fight over resources we will never fully enjoy. We sacrifice youth, health, relationships, sanity, all for symbols, titles, brands, numbers, followers, reputation. The truth is simple and obscene. Humans act like immortals while knowing they are not. If the reality of death were active in your mind every day, even for a moment, so many of your tortures would evaporate instantly. You wouldn't crumble over losing money because money has no oxygen where you're going. You wouldn't let envy rot your heart because the person you envy will die too. You wouldn't waste your lifespan inside walls, trading time for status, trading your life for the illusion of importance. You wouldn't hate people for being luckier or prettier or richer because none of it follows them, none of it survives them. None of it is real in the face of non-existence. But the mind hides this from you on purpose. Death is silenced in the background of your consciousness, muted like a terrifying alarm you refuse to hear. You operate in a fog of distraction, a haze of false urgency, a trance of petty desires designed to drown out the truth. Becker saw this with surgical clarity. Humans invented a psychological antivenom for the lethal fear of the end. The Immortality Project, a deeply embedded need to feel like life matters beyond its physical limit. He wrote, "Man must feel that his life matters, that he is a hero, that his acts count for something lasting." This is why humanity is obsessed with legacy, not because legacy is valuable, but because disappearing is unbearable. People chase success not for the success, but for the signature it leaves on the world. They chase wealth not for comfort, but for proof of value. They chase fame not for admiration, but for the illusion of permanence. Every achievement is secretly an attempt to carve a name into eternity. Every dream is a disguised fear of insignificance. Every empire is a fragile monument to someone's terror of being forgotten. And here comes the question we dodge like a blade. What do we take with us when we die? The answer is brutal in its simplicity. Nothing. Not the house, not the car, not the money, not your clothes, not even your memories. You don't carry the name people chant. You don't carry the face that once stared back at you in mirrors. You don't carry the stories you cling to. You don't carry your identity. Everything dissolves. Everything returns to the same void you came from. And yet look around. Humanity behaves as if there were a trophy at the end, as if the last breath were a medal ceremony, as if the universe were keeping score, as if dying with more objects makes you less dead. This is the great illusion, the stage on which the entire world performs. The Stoics knew this long before psychology placed it under a microscope. Memento mori, remember that you will die, not as a curse but as a compass, not to frighten you but to sober you, not to paralyze you but to free you. Because if you remember your mortality, you stop bowing to trivialities. You stop living like a ghost in your own life. You stop mistaking noise for meaning. You stop worshiping illusions. Becker wrote that all culture, religion, politics, economy, tradition is a symbolic fortress built to shield us from the terror of our own extinction. Religion promises eternity, politics promises legacy, work promises impact, love promises remembrance. Every institution is a psychological vaccination against the horror of the end. But maybe the greatest courage a human can have is not to conquer the world, but to accept, truly accept, that the world will never be enough to save them. What will you take with you? Nothing but the way you treated the people around you. Nothing but the love you gave and the love you allowed yourself to receive. Everything else is dust. Everything else is temporary theater. Everything else is a fragile costume worn by a creature terrified of disappearing. And here lies the truth people bury under their entire lives. If something can save you from existential despair, it isn't success, it isn't power, it isn't money, it isn't status. It is exactly what the Stoics pointed to and what Becker concluded in the cold clarity of his words. Only love can save a human being, not because love defeats death, it doesn't, but because love makes the moments before death worth living. Death is the only guarantee, and the tiny interval between now and then is all you will ever own. There is an ancient truth that humanity has whispered to itself across centuries. Paradise was invented so that life could be endured. Heaven isn't just spiritual comfort, it's psychological anesthesia. Becker argued that religion didn't arise because humans are spiritual, but because humans are mortal. The fear of death is the soil from which every religion grows. Heaven, hell, reincarnation, ancestral spirits, eternal souls, all of it shaped to soothe the silent horror behind the question, what happens when I cease to exist? Becker wrote without mercy, religion is the most elaborate cultural mechanism created to deny the reality of death. And he's right. Every spiritual promise offers the same drug. You will continue, you will not end here. The soul becomes a loophole, a backdoor, an escape hatch from oblivion. Without this belief, humanity might collapse under its own awareness. Without it, fear would freeze civilization. Most people don't believe in God because they understand him. They believe because they're terrified. They cling to eternity not out of insight, but out of desperation. But the problem isn't faith. The problem is what people do with it. The arrogance of believing you can live a life of cruelty, ego, selfishness, and still whisper to yourself, God will forgive me at the end. This is the delusion that fertilizes evil, the unconscious certainty that the afterlife will fix the atrocities of this one. Becker revealed this mechanism with terrifying clarity. Belief in an afterlife isn't just hope, it's a psychological strategy to manage the unbearable weight of mortality. And this is why the Stoics refused to sell comfort. They sold truth. Memento mori, not to scare you, to wake you. Because your time is limited, your chances are numbered, your life is a brief flame surrounded by darkness. This is the presence behind every decision you make, whether you acknowledge it or not. Humanity built religions, myths, rituals, and entire civilizations around pushing this presence away. A necessary theater, a mental survival system, a global hallucination powerful enough to prevent mass psychological collapse. But beneath all this architecture of comfort lies the truth everyone knows but no one admits. There is no escape, there is only time, and the shrinking portion you still possess. As the world burns with conflict, pandemics, crises, and fear, this truth becomes sharp again, and humanity reveals its darkest face. You've probably noticed something unsettling about humanity, something that crawls beneath the surface, something that becomes impossible to ignore when the world begins to crack. In times of crisis, when the illusion of control evaporates, when death becomes visible again, when mortality stops being a distant theory and becomes a possibility, people transform. They don't become wiser, they don't become softer, they become cruel, primitive, tribal, relentless. The mask of civility collapses and the terrified animal underneath takes over. It isn't coincidence, it isn't politics, it isn't ideology, it is fear. The purest, rawest, most corrosive fear the human mind can experience, the fear of disappearing. This is Becker's darkest revelation, the part people refuse to confront because it exposes the ugliest truth about our nature. Humans don't become violent because they are evil, they become violent because they are terrified. The terror of death doesn't just haunt us silently, it mutates us. It shapes our behavior, our politics, our wars, our hatred. It distorts our perception, hijacks our identity, and pushes us to attack anything that threatens the fragile illusion that we will matter, that we will endure, that we will survive. When humans can no longer deny their finitude symbolically, when the veil tears, they try to deny finitude through domination, control, destruction. If they cannot feel immortal, they will try to feel invincible. If they cannot extend their life, they will try to shrink the lives of others. If they cannot escape insignificance, they will make someone else smaller. This is the psychology behind war, behind genocide, behind extremism, behind fanaticism, behind racism, behind nationalism, behind every ideology that dehumanizes the other. It's not just hatred. Hatred is the symptom. The disease is fear. Becker's thesis was brutal. When a person feels their symbolic immortality project threatened, their religion, their culture, their political identity, their worldview, they react as if their physical body were under attack. Because in a psychological sense, it is. People don't defend beliefs, they defend the illusion that their beliefs give them permanence. They don't defend ideologies, they defend the symbolic armor those ideologies provide against the terror of the end. This is why the world burns. This is why societies implode. This is why people lose themselves in cruelty. When fear intensifies, denial collapses. And without denial, humans panic. And when humans panic, they become dangerous. The mind cannot tolerate its own vulnerability. So it compensates violently. It dehumanizes the outsider. It romanticizes the in-group. It divides the world into us, the ones who deserve to live, and them, the ones whose existence threaten our meaning. This is why extremist movements grow during crises. This is why people cling to authoritarian leaders. This is why propaganda spreads like wildfire. This is why intolerance becomes the default. This is why the most frightened populations always become the most aggressive. Fear makes people seek symbols that feel eternal: a nation, a church, a race, a party, a belief, a tribe, a hero, a myth, anything that promises survival, even if only psychological. And when someone threatens that symbol, even with facts, even with logic, it feels like someone cutting the only rope holding them above the abyss. The reaction is predictable: rage, violence, destruction. Look at history without sentimental lies. Humanity's darkest chapters were not born from evil, they were born from terror. Colonization, genocides, massacres, dictatorships, terrorism, holy wars, civil wars, cold wars, all symptoms of the same disease, the unbearable weight of knowing we perish. When death becomes visible, humans scramble desperately for symbolic immortality. They cling to the stories that make them feel chosen, protected, superior, eternal. They become delusional, intoxicated by myths that promise safety, and in that desperation, they turn monstrous. Because monsters are born from fear, not malice. The human being, stripped of denial, is unstable. Your identity, your culture, your beliefs, your version of reality, all of it is a shield built not from truth, but from terror. This is why humans cling so fiercely to their worldview, because without it, they are naked before the void. Without it, they are face to face with their insignificance. Without it, they are nothing but animals aware of their expiration date. And the mind cannot bear this exposure. So when the world shakes, pandemics, war, economic collapse, death on a global scale, denial weakens and humanity reveals what lies underneath. Tribalism, violence, paranoia, cruelty, extremism. Societies regress to their most primitive instincts. Fear strips away empathy, mortality strips away rationality, death anxiety strips away humanity. Becker's insight becomes undeniable. The terror of death doesn't only make us fragile, it makes us dangerous. It pushes us to protect the illusions that help us forget we are dying. And when those illusions crack, we attack. This is why the human world is filled with conflict, because everyone is fighting a silent war inside themselves and projecting it outward. The war against insignificance, the war against the void, the war against oblivion. But here's the cruelest truth: even the victors lose. Even the conquerors die. Even the killers perish. No act of domination can stop the clock. No victory can make you immortal. No ideology can change your fate. Death arrives for everyone: the innocent and the tyrant, the saint and the murderer, the believer and the skeptic. The monster humans become in the face of death does not save them, it only reveals them. And what's left after the violence, after the hatred, after the wars, after the blood, after the destruction? Silence. Graves. Names scratched into stone, stories that eventually fade, civilizations that eventually fall, generations forgotten, everything swallowed by the same void everyone tried so desperately to escape. Humanity's darkest secret is this: we destroy others to forget we are destroyable. We kill to forget we are killable. We hate to pretend we are special. We fight to forget we are temporary. And in the end, the terror we try to bury is the only honest thing about us. Decades after Becker's death, long after the denial of death stopped being just a book and became a mirror held against the human psyche, science stepped in, cold, clinical, emotionless, and confirmed every nightmare he wrote. What was once philosophical insight became measurable, testable, repeatable. What was once dismissed as existential speculation became data, numbers, graphs, experiments. And the results were devastating. They called it terror management theory, an academic name polite enough to hide the brutality behind it, but what it means is simple. The more you are reminded of your death, the more your behavior twists. A subtle reminder, a question, a word, a picture, a news headline is enough to rewire your entire psychology. The mind doesn't confess it, but the body reacts instantly. Your pulse shifts, your defenses harden, your tolerance shrinks, your compassion fades, your aggression sharpens. Experiments showed it again and again across countries, cultures, ages. Remind a person they will die, they become more prejudiced. Remind them again, they become more aggressive. Remind them stronger, they cling to ideology. Remind them repeatedly, they crave authoritarian leaders. Remind them subtly, they buy more, consume more, hoard more. Remind them honestly, they fall into panic. Death anxiety is the invisible puppeteer of human behavior. It's the hand pulling the strings while everyone pretends they're dancing by choice. Take an average person, ask them to write a paragraph describing what they think will happen when they die, then send them into a social test. Watch how they transform. They become rigid, close-minded, protective of their worldview, hostile to anything unfamiliar, easily offended, easily manipulated, easily enraged, easily polarized. Death turns people tribal, death turns people obedient, death turns people violent, death turns people into followers of anyone who promises safety, even if that promise is a lie. This is why tragedy is the most powerful political tool. This is why governments use fear. This is why religions offer eternity. This is why corporations sell identity. This is why influencers whisper, "Buy this, it makes you more." Everything thrives on the same psychological wound. Humans fear being nothing. Humans fear disappearing. Humans fear insignificance more than they fear pain. And nothing exposes this more brutally than modern media. A tragedy goes viral, a disaster, a pandemic, a death, fear spikes, mortality becomes conscious, and the population becomes easier to polarize, easier to manipulate, easier to divide, easier to control. Leaders rise on fear, movements rise on fear, violence rises on fear, and the cycle continues. Becker predicted this decades before the data confirmed it. When death enters consciousness, humans seek immortality through symbols. When symbols fail, they seek immortality through groups. When groups fail, they seek immortality through hatred. When hatred fails, they seek immortality through destruction. The human mind will do anything to avoid confronting the void head-on. But here is the part that people almost never understand. You cannot run from the truth forever. You can drown in distraction, drown in consumption, drown in arrogance, drown in ideology, but the truth waits. Death is patient. Time is patient. The void does not chase you, it simply stands still, knowing you will eventually walk into it. And this is where Becker's work takes its final, most terrifying turn. He didn't just expose the human fear of death, he exposed the human fear of life. Because to live consciously is to live with the truth. To live awake is to feel the weight of mortality. To live honestly is to confront everything you tried to bury. Your fragility, your pettiness, your insignificance, your impermanence. Most people don't fear dying. They fear living without illusions. Illusions are warm, illusions are comforting, illusions are familiar. Illusions protect you from the unbearable fact that you control nothing, not your time, not your fate, not your ending. This is why humans love routine. Routine is hypnosis. Routine is anesthesia. Routine is denial disguised as normal. Wake up, eat, work, scroll, complain, sleep, repeat. It's not life, it's sedation. But for a moment, a sharp, intrusive moment, something breaks the trance. A diagnosis, an accident, a funeral, a near miss, a bad dream, a piece of news, a sudden silence. And in that moment, the truth pierces through. Life is temporary. Time is borrowed. Everything you cling to will vanish. Humans collapse under this realization because they are not trained to carry truth, they are trained to escape it. But here is the paradox Becker spent his life unraveling. The same truth that terrifies you is the only truth that can free you. Because once you stop pretending you are immortal, you stop living like a prisoner of ego. You stop wasting your existence on things that do not matter. You stop hurting people just to protect a fragile identity. You stop chasing validation that won't outlive you. You stop numbing yourself with distractions that swallow years. Mortality, accepted honestly, doesn't destroy you. It humbles you, it wakes you, it strips away illusions and forces you to see what remains. And when all illusions fall, when all distractions fade, when all delusions collapse, when all symbolic armors break, one thing remains standing: love. Not romantic love, not fantasy love, not cinematic love, but the raw human love that acknowledges the truth. We are temporary, so be kind. We are fragile, so be gentle. We are dying, so live honestly. We cannot stay, so connect deeply. Love is not a cure for death. It is what makes life worth enduring before death arrives. Love does not make you immortal, it makes your existence meaningful in the only way that matters. And this is Becker's final truth, the one modern psychology, ancient philosophy, and human experience all converge on: only love can save us. Not from the end is unavoidable, but from wasting the interval. If you read this far, it means something inside you refuses to live blind. You are not here for distraction, you are not here for comfort, you are not here for illusions. You are here because truth calls you, because while the world hides behind noise, you chose clarity. And clarity is rare, clarity is painful, clarity is powerful. Every video you watch like this, every thought you allow yourself to confront, every insight that hurts you before it heals you, these are acts of rebellion. If you made it this far, you're not like the rest. Comment awake. You are breaking the trance, you are stepping outside the illusion, you are living consciously in a world built on denial. And if this channel, this message, this truth awakens you, then support it, not out of obligation, not out of habit, but because truth deserves space in a world drowning in distraction. Because at the end of everything, when the noise fades, when the ego dissolves, when denial collapses, when life becomes honest, what remains is connection. What remains is clarity. What remains is love. What remains is you, awake, aware, alive in the brief miracle between birth and death.